Cotolo back on the In the Money Media Network for another episode of the Harness Players Podcast, much like the well-beloved Players Podcast here, except harness. Pretty much the same type of horse racing, except we put the guys instead on the back of the horse. We put them back behind the horse, and hilarity ensues, I guess. We're recording this at lunchtime, and for those, of course, wondering and listening or watching on the YouTube channel, but don't forget to like and subscribe to the In the Money YouTube channel, by the way. Lunch today, ham steak, mac and cheese, and peas, which I know, just describing that to my co-host here on the show, Mr. Michael Perbozzi, is probably not making his stomach bubble with excitement. It's making it turn and retch. And I know you're keeping it together for me, Mikey, but don't worry. I got some kiwis at the very least to stay hydrated today.
Yeah, back in the old days, you'd be eating like you are now as the shows were going on. And so we're no stranger to this nonsense from you. But I mean, we were excellent on the podcast last week. If you watched, you had to have cash. So we thought we'd run it back. And Thomas Svensen's also here giving his expert opinions for the Meadowlands. So this is a good group. We thought we're going to stick with it. And no eliminations this week for Meadowlands Pace, but Diamond Creek Farm next week will be heavily sponsoring the roundtable for the Meadowlands Pace. So keep an eye on that. I think it's going to be Thursday night at 8 p.m., yeah?
Yes, it'll be a well-hydrated roundtable with myself, you. We'll have Adam Bowden, who's won the Meadowlands Pace with Confederate a few years ago. And you spoke of this pod specifically. This is the week before the Meadowlands Pace. No eliminations. There is a little kind of prep open race on the Saturday night card, July 5th at the Meadowlands. But we're also going to talk about the headline events, which have become the Graduate Series finals. These are 4-year-olds on the Pace and the Trot. Some of them getting a nice prep in ahead of the William Houghton Memorial on the trotting side. There's a bit more of a gap until their next major dance. But we do also have Thomas Svensen in on the discussion here today. And Thomas especially had some good insight for us last week. You were able to nail your single on Call Me Goo. But your pick 5, you sent us your play. You got a good amount of coverage on the long shots, but you got hammered when Go Dog Go crushed.
Yeah, I did. I was 4 deep, and there was first, second, and third, and fourth. And so, and he come away a little further back than I think the people around the horse expected. But he kicked home so much better than the others. And yeah, I got the pick 5, but the big bucks was on the other horses, and we could see that on the screen too. He was even money going behind the gate, and late money come in, and he was 2-5.
Yeah, like in the pick 5s too. I got in a discussion with this with Dean Towers on Twitter, because I saw that he was paying about $360 on the pick 5 for 20 cents, and then the next closest was about $1,000. So like, even though it was about only like a 3 times difference, I wasn't shocked to see that type of heat come in on Go Dog Go. Just noticing how the will pays do kind of indicate the strength of the favorite. I don't think it really follows that same multiplier, because the 1 and 2 were next favorites in the betting. You had them on your ticket also. They were only like 6, 7 to 1. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think Mr. Moulton was the second-hand favorite, but didn't he go off as a 5 to 2 or 3 to 1 or something? I'm not sure. I think it was the other one was a little longer. And when he come around the last turn, I had a little feeling that he could dig in and win, and I had it $4. I would get over $6K if he wins. So.
And one area where we were a little weak, we all kind of went into the Buck-a-Bet Hanover camp against Ken Hanover, but aside from that, Ken Hanover proved what a lot of the speculation was showing, that he can be a serious player in these age pacing divisions.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I think we need to give credit to Ken Hanover. I didn't expect him to step up against the big guns especially on a mile track. I tried to get him so many times last year against the bigger boys, and on a 5A track, I think he can do good. But now we need he is the sharpest pacer in the US right now. I also think Dexter is always going to get so much credit when we talk about him. I don't think he had his best day driving that day. He could also be coming to the front before Ken Hanover come when Vukafalos did go to the front. So Dexter had a little sleepy day.
Vukafalis, of course, another feather in my long shots to get second to obvious favorites cap. Of course, Hungry Angel Boy leads the way on that. But Mike, you were not that surprised, though, about maybe the biggest shocker of the whole night. Twinbee Joe Fresh getting upended there by Sylvia Hanover. I mean, at the end of the day, we all had tremendous respect for Twinbee Joe Fresh, but after the race, you were like, she's still good, Sylvia.
Yeah, and I mentioned that on the pod last week. I was excited to see that they shipped down and were going to participate because she had been hanging out in Canada and showing up in some of the big races there. But the fact that they shipped and she had a couple races that indicated maybe a breakout was coming. We know how well she's raced over that racetrack in the past. And, before Twinbee Joe Fresh was Twinbee Joe Fresh last year, Sylvia was, dominant over her. So it's nice to see Sylvia get back to herself here. You're never going to get that price on her anymore. We'll see what happens. But that rivalry could pick back up this year.
And it was real surprising also to just see Twinbee Joe Fresh. She was even coming for home. She really didn't pick up gear when Sylvia Hanover came up to the outside, which, myriad reasons that can happen. We'll leave that for Chris Ryder to either talk about or not talk about in those races upcoming. Let's talk about some of the races upcoming for our sake on this pod, since, as we mentioned, no elimination for the Meadowlands Pace, but towards the tail of the show, we'll talk about the prep event. 6 horses of the 10 who will go to the Meadowlands Pace final next week are competing in a bit of a tightener, most notably 4th place finisher in the North America Cup, Captain Optimistic, landing in the center of the gate. But first and foremost, let's talk about the first of 2 Graduate Series finals on this Saturday card at the Meadowlands. It's race number 5 for the 4-year-old Pacers. 10 horses going postward here. Real highlight, a rematch between Nijinsky, North America Cup champ last year, and divisional winner from last season is a 3-year-old Captain Albano. But I think this race got the most intriguing draw with Captain Albano being as strong a speed as he is, Mike. And he has post 10 to overcome here. Nijinsky, too, has a good post, but he might have to be aggressive again. Wa's going to have to make some certain quick-fire decisions. This shapes to be a real interesting race, don't you think?
It does, but I think Nijinsky is a better horse. I think that he, over the big racetrack, has an advantage. I do think Captain Albano might be a little better over the smaller racetrack. And they raced against each other back on June the 21st, and it was a bang finish on the wire. But Nijinsky has the perfect post here, and I mean I'm biased, obviously. I mean, this is my favorite horse, and it has been for a couple years, especially last year into this year, and really so far this year he has 4 starts. I know he's lost 2 of those, but the first one was his first start of the year. That second start in that Gold Cup, against Brew Hanover. He arguably could have won that race, how it shaped. He certainly was loaded the whole way around the racetrack, showed up here. I really like his chances in this race. I'm hoping that Captain Albano takes money. I'm hoping a few other people, other horses take money in this race. So I can get, maybe even money, maybe a little bit more, 6-5 on him. I like him. I think he's the best horse, and I think he'll win.
Well, Nijinsky was able to make a move to the top in the most opportune point of the race last time. They went about like 28 and change to the second quarter. That's when Wa looped him over. But Thomas, I don't know if you remember much about that race with Nijinsky and Captain Albano. Perhaps the most impressive thing was when Todd was able to bully his way through the seam at the inside. It looked like he built enough momentum to get by, but Nijinsky seemed as much up to the fight in repelling him. Was that kind of your takeaway from that race?
I think Captain Albano, if he had if he find the opening a little before, I think Captain Albano would won that race. But it's all about the pace in this race. And what about the race Sabonis did? The first time I think he's been good after Diamond Creek and Pelling got the horse. Was a insane performance for Sabonis. And Nijinsky is going to be the favorite and should be the favorite. And we know Todd McCarthy is going to blast out with Captain Albano from the 10 hole like he did last time. And it depends what we're going to see to the half. Do we going to see a 54 half? Captain Luke he had so much pace left last time, but he had a good post last time, post 2. This time we have post 7. One horse I've been chasing all the time against these big boys is Arbitrage Hanover. He's been having post 7 and 8, just been taken back, kicking home 25 quarters, but that doesn't help when you're 8 lengths behind them to the half. This time you have a speed driver in Dougie McNair. I don't gonna say he will win, but I'm gonna have him on my pick 5 ticket because he will add crazy value. And if he is close, he can kick home like anyone else in this race. So for me, it's Nijinsky, yeah, Captain Albano, but I'm gonna have Arbitrage Hanover and Captain Luke maybe also in Sabonis. I think it is especially on when I only bet pick 4 and pick 5 hard, I need to see if I can get value. And if I can beat Nijinsky and Captain Albano, then it's only going to be 1 to 2% on some of the other horses.
And this race falls into a weird part on the calendar because these older pacers, they have many more races on the Grand Circuit back to back than the older trotters do. At least the older trotters, that's more towards like the fall and things like that when their big races happen. But many of these horses, Captain Albano included, are probably going to be in the box next week for the Houghton, which goes for more money than this race is going for, just $230,000 for this one. And that's not a shabby prize to take necessarily, but I think it plays into the equation that you mentioned here, Thomas, that the first half is probably the most pivotal piece to handicapping this race. That's where, if I want to side with Nijinsky, I feel like Waugh needs to give a bit more of a conservative trip. I don't know that Nijinsky can put up a fight if he's being super aggressive into a 53 front half and still have enough left, because some of these other horses, depending on where they are, have that type of move to capitalize. Sabonis is probably in the most prime spot because he has that mixture of tactical speed to not get too far back, but based on his race last time, if he can make that run and not expend too much energy, then he can be in the fray late. But again, that also comes down to who's willing to challenge Captain Albano, because he's so fast off the gate with that outside post and the slanted gate. He can easily take the top. And you look down this page, a lot of these horses seem like they're going to want to take back. Like Funtime Bayama's not really that aggressive of late. Arbitrage he could be one of the catalyzers, but that's my key component. Who do you think could mess this race up, Thomas?
But it's like we all know that Todd need the lead from the 10 hole, and we know we're gonna go to the front, and we know Louis Roy is not gonna be sitting us a third or fourth. He's gonna try the retake either after the paddock turn. So it depends. Is Captain Bono still in front, or is Dexter gonna be aggressive with Sabonis and try to come before? And Nijinsky is, like you said, Arbitrage Hanover coming there. And then we also have, like, Timmy is always going to be placing Kaliochacek Hanover up front to get a position from the 3 hole. And Funtime Bayama, they take him off the gate. I saw Yannick, he took him off the gate before he come up to the gate last time, because when David Miller drove him, he was a runaway when he come up to, he was on nuts that day. So we know it's going to be pace in this race with money. We know Todd is going to leave, when we know Nijinsky, Louis not going to give him a trip. He's going to be in the front to the half. And do we going to see a 53, 54 to the half? Then I think Nijinsky can be beat.
Oh, another wrinkle to add to this race, Mike, and we can weight it differently because these are different horses we're talking about. But we saw Braxton Boyd take authority in the North America Cup with Madden Oaks after that horse was so hard to handle in the elimination. Launched from post 10, was able to work a beautiful trip, and got second in one of the biggest races for pacing 3-year-olds. He's back here with Cam Capone from the pylon post with Van Diemen Blue Chip, who was okay, I think, in a speed try on Cup night at Mohawk Park. I don't know that that's really like a killer type mile that would make him a win factor inside of this race, but also he's not Houghton eligible. This is his shot at big money. How much do you think that Boyd could possibly play spoiler, at least in the setup of this race? Because really, he only has one direction to go here.
Yeah, but I mean, the rail's no picnic for him. He's had the rail the last 2 starts, and he was 135 to 1 versus these horses last time. He was 40 to 1 the time before that. And I just don't think that there's any chance. I mean, he can try, but I don't know. I think his best chance of a check is sit, try to get a trip in the race, and then come late. Maybe see if he could trip out and get fourth, fifth. I don't know. I don't think the one horse has anything to do with the other as far as with Madden Oaks and stuff like that. That's a whole different ball game there. I think this horse tries to trip out. He's a huge long shot in the race. I don't know. I don't think he factors, honestly.
I posit it just because we know Braxton has been getting aggressive with these opportunities that he has on the big stage. Even like watching him in overnight races at the Meadowlands, he's not afraid to send a horse. And sometimes in a race like this, especially if you're trying to jockey for position, if you can get that third spot and take it from a horse like Nijinsky or something like that, that forces them into a first up position. That changes the whole flow of the race. And I talk about this at the end of the day because I feel like that's the appeal of Sabonis is you might get an okay price on him. I don't think you're gonna get the 27-1. I think if you can get 8 or 9-1, that's an okay spot to try and take a chance. You think so?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do think that the top two are going to take the majority of the money in the race, and then Captain Luke will probably be the next horse that's bet. So those two are going to take a lot of money. Sabonis probably fourth choice in the race. That's how I think it plays.
Okay, I don't think that's a bad betting proposition at all. Just because he gets the right draw, there's flexibility in the trip that he can work, and he's at least handy enough that he probably can handle whatever position he lands into with how the outside speed unfolds. Like this paints like a race to me where everyone will be on their second move, and it's the horse just making their first move that might be able to get to win the race. And Sabonis has that type of strong punch where maybe this could be the opportunity where he breaks through. But of course, he also potentially Houghton bound for, as Thomas mentioned earlier, Diamond Creek. I forget when they acquired this guy because this was a horse that was racing in Indiana for a really long time. He was a real star pacer. He won the Milstein too, right? He was on like a big tear. Thomas, do you remember this?
Yeah, I think he won the Milstein. I think so. He won 16 for 18 last year. So, and his first couple of races, I was just okay on him. And last time he was a first up grind. He did fight to the finish line and was only beaten by a neck. So it was I think it would be closer to the you said 8-1. I would think it would be around that too ish. Around if I can get under 10-1 on Sabonis, he's gonna definitely be on my pick 5 pick.
I think he provides the value. Captain Albano may get a bit of value on him just as a horse because he has post 10. I don't know that a lot of people. I think people are gonna go for more Nijinsky inside this spot. He'll be the second choice. And you can argue that for a horse like Captain Albano, that's probably one of the better opportunities you're going to get all year. But I feel like he is what makes this race messy from all the way out there. If Sabonis was in his place and Captain Albano had post 2, I think Albano has a really strong chance to win here. But I just don't know third start off the bench if he's ready to go that hard of a mile or to be able to work that type of trip and survive a shuffle where he can skim up the inside and capitalize off a pocket ride, as we know he's been really good at doing since he was a 2-year-old. That's the first of the 2 graduate finals. That's for the 4-year-old pacers. Let's talk about the final for the trotting 4-year-olds. And I kind of want to just pose this question to you, Thomas, more as just an intriguing thing. We notice in harness racing, the pacers a lot of times, the mares rarely ever face the boys. But the graduate series of late, especially for the 4-year-olds, has become an assimilation of some of the top 3-year-old fillies becoming 4 and then these 4-year-old boys competing together inside of these races. Just in your experience as a horseman, what is it that makes the trotting rank or the trotting discipline easier for these mares to be competitive against than the pacing side?
I think it is for the first, there is not many 4-year-old races for the mares because there is not many trotting mares that is still racing because the best one is going to be a broodmare. The rest is overnight horses, and the same thing with the 4-year-old trotting stallion. It's not the best ones because the best one did go as a over to be a stud as a 3. So for a Lista and Warby Michelle, who is racing against the boys in Date Night Hanover, owners don't need money, and they want to. Aki loves to race older horses. If it was American owners of many of these horses here, if you take away Schneider, I think all of them will be broodmares, but there's so much money, and I think it is good for the industry too that we are raising them a little longer. But I also see the business side of it, that there is money in the breeding business. So, um, and we know Aki, he don't care. He put in mares in open races. He's well, like if you also go to American trainers when they train horses, they train fillies with fillies and colts with colts. If you go to the Scandinavian trainers, they don't care about if it is a filly training with a colt. So I think it is. Yeah, it's more like that. It's like Call Me Goo. She is training with all the big boys at Arky, and the same with Date Night Hanover. She's training with Maryland and Owell. So.
My out there theory is that trotting is more of a disciplined gait. It's about how fluently can you move, while pacing, I feel like it's how aggressively can you move, because you're having to shove the ground out from under you. So I thought that there could have been maybe like a muscular reason as to why we don't see many mare pacers go against male pacers.
But I think if we put in Sylvia Hanover and Twin B Joe Fresh against the big boys, I think Twin B Joe Fresh could easily beat some of them.
Yeah, and from there, like, you get into some of the weirder and harder to analyze areas where if like a mare loses against the boys and then they tail off against the mares, then you think, well, they must have soured against the herd of competition or whatever, or these other things that you can't quantify that maybe discourage horsemen from even taking that gamble. Because I mean, for the pacing mares, if you can just stay against your own ranks and not have to worry about the attitudes and things like that changing, there's so much money to be made.
Remember, Moneymaker was maybe the best horse I have seen. She did destroy the boys.
Mm-hmm. And she was a trotter.
Yep.
Just again, I can't tell you the last time I saw a pacing mare take on the boys. We almost got Chantilly.
But have they? Is there many people who have tried to do it? That's like maybe Jimmy. Did Jimmy do it with Per Country?
Jimmy, I think American Jewel may have been the one that he tried it with.
I wouldn't be shocked if Jimmy he will definitely have no issue trying it if he feel his American can beat the boys. He did it with Manchego, but that was a trotter again, and stuff like that. If Aki trained more pacer, I wouldn't be shocked if Aki would try to do it.
Maybe Seawood Peelers did it too, but that's let's focus on something that Mike can have some expertise in on, which is these horses on the trotting side. Mike, you and I were kind of talking with Rallis before the show, and of course, maybe this is his Canadian bias showing, even though the horse is with New Connections now. He was gushing over Highland Kismet's qualifier. I, in part, think it's because anytime a horse qualifies, John thinks that horse is ready, because he just watches every single one. But
he loves the qualifiers.
What are your thoughts on him? Because we knew Kismet was a really good 3-year-old. Still making starts here with Nancy Tactor. Obviously, a trotter taking off hopples off of break and stride. That's eye-catching here, and they're diving right into a big pool.
I don't know. I mean, this horse is really hit and miss. I think he has a ton of talent, a ton of speed, but he is extremely quirky. He can bust at any moment. There's just too many axes on the page, really, for me to trust. I know the Canadians love this horse, and they can't wait to bet this horse all the time, especially in these big races. And yeah, I mean, he's raced very well in a Hambo. He's has the speed against Dexter now, and that's, I think, to his benefit. But he probably needs a race or two. This is not an easy spot. I'm not as sold as John is. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think this is a more level group compared to the graduate pacing side, because of also the way this race drew. At least at Hanover, for example, I don't really know how to rate her, because you go and watch her race against Private Access. She had so much trot once getting unleashed, but she only had to kind of sit along, wait to make the move, and so it's tough to gauge how potent of a move she can make now that she has a tougher draw to overcome here. But otherwise, Thomas, again, like you just look down the page, Amazing Catch. We know he's a good horse, but he is kind of a trip-dependent, ground-saving type. I think Date Night Hanover, ability-wise, may be the best. From what I think John told me too, she didn't race with she raced with shoes last time, and she races better without shoes. And so I'm kind of curious your insight on that, because again, she's a mare. Her next big race is Hambo Day. So this is the best pot that she can compete for quite some time. That's probably a good spot to pull shoes, right?
Yeah, she's gonna pull the shoes this time. That's why they saved the shoes in the elimination, the graduate last time. She struggled on the last turn, and don't watch the warm up on Dayton at Hanover, for she is, I don't gonna say lame, but she is sore. She is that after the race too. I think she was a little too much after the race, but she is tough. She's not big, but she is tough. And Scotty from post 2 with no shoes, she's definitely up there in this race. But I was gonna say this race was very easy for me, because either I'm gonna go 4 or 5 horses deep, or I'm gonna single. And for me, Highland Kismet destroy these horses if it just stays flat. And then we can go on back and discuss. Like I heard John had loved this horse since the get-go, Rallis. And when it come to Nancy, I was sure Yannick was going to be a perfect driver for this horse. I don't know what happened there. Didn't too miscue just before the finish line, and then in the first turn. And then he put up Dexter. Yannick didn't have any horses in that qualifier, so that's maybe some owners or Nancy trying Dexter, and he come along good with him. I hope he is driving him in. We just have the proof. I haven't seen is he driving Highland Kismet instead of Amazing Catch?
Oh, I guess the program might have been finalized by now.
No, but we take. I hope it does, since Dexter was qualifying him, and if he just stays flat, I think he plays with those boys. But what do we gonna get? What do we gonna get in the value? Do I gonna go
5-1 on the morning line, and Dexter's choice. Todd McCarthy's gonna drive Amazing Catch.
Yeah, but at like 8-1, it's like, who is? Yeah, I don't gonna say anything about the morning. I don't watch the morning line, so I think I'm gonna single him in the pick 4, and I know I can blow up. I know he can make a break, but I think he wins on the wraps if he stays flat. Jimmy is home from Florida. He is helping home with Nancy. Date Night Hanover, like she need to have a trip. Amazing Catch. Change trainer to Linda Toscano, because he haven't been like the Greg Luther expected at Swanstead. Yeah, he haven't. Getting a horse from Aki is I haven't seen a horse gonna be better. I haven't seen a horse not like this in at least a week. So Private Access going to be the favorite going off. Can he win? Yes, he can win. Does I going to bet him? Nah. He can be on the ticket, but he's going to be a big favorite. Sir Pinocchio? Nah. It was too rough drive last time, and he got super tired. Gruesome Twosome looked very dangerous coming the last half into the stretch, but then he was, I don't going to say he didn't try, but I did see something I didn't like with him. He was up with his head too much, and like almost like he didn't want to feel the little extra pain to win that race. But that's a nice horse. Rory Michelle always fly if you get the nice race. We never know what Aki gonna do here. If Aki pull the shoes here, he gonna maybe blast from the 8-hole. And then how are we gonna discuss this race then? Because if you have Aki in the race, everything can happen. He can drive. he can interfere 3 other guys. He can pull up, and he can do everything.
Marcel, that makes it more interesting.
Yeah, Marcel, he is not entered just on the paper. I don't see him racing. Elista Hanover, saving ground, struggle on the last turn, flying home from post 2. But what is David Miller going to do from post 10? She's not like a super fast behind the gate. Where is he going to be? Like, she's going to be overbet because she was flying home last time, and from the 10 hole, yeah. There's so many things here that I don't see. I'm gonna single Highland Kismet, and if he blows up, he blows up.
Don't you think though that his odds in the win pool are way low in here? I mean, everyone's gonna see that bad morning line for starters, and that's gonna make him.
Yeah, but I maybe at the win. Yeah, but it's like I only bet the pick 4 hard, If I go in the win pool, what I do? If I gonna get, do I gonna get 3-1, 5-2 on Highland Kismet? Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe because you have rallies, you have me, you have some others who's
The market movers.
market
Well, I
movers.
mean,
You
the
know,
horse
so
7-5, off a bust qualifier. I mean,
you
the
know,
last time these horses. I mean, so this horse takes money.
yeah, he does take money, and Dexter takes money, Nancy takes money. So I but it's like if I'm gonna be have to be 4 or 5 deep. I need to have date night Hanover, private access, maybe gruesome twosome, and yeah, Warwick Michelle Elista Hanover to feel safe. Then I am a gambler. But I maybe want to see the I maybe want to see the warm up.
Which
But
this
like you, but like you, Mike said, he can blow up if he see a bird flying up. He's blowing up if you see a bird.
I actually saw that at Oak Grove. Atlee Bender was warming up like a freight train with this horse moving up in class. Like one of those. I don't know about you, Thomas. I love those trotters who move like pacers, where it's just their legs glide under their body. And then the moment he came up the backstretch, this flock of birds flew up and he started galloping.
So that's maybe the biggest issue with Highland Kismet, if there is too many birds at Meadowlands.
Which, I mean, watch racing this whole year. How many times have geese forced races to pay all because all these guys have to go around them?
Yeah. But the biggest issue I was sure Yannick was the perfect driver for that horse, and then he blew up 2 times.
I don't. Here's my thought. My thought is if Bobby, because Bobby's got kind of quiet hands. Yeah, and Yannick, this isn't a slight or anything. I imagine for Yannick to get the type of speed he does out of horses, you have to have some hotter hands, some more aggressive hands. And a horse like Kismet, if he pairs better with a guy like Bobby, I feel like Yannick would be more antithetical to that and could potentially rev him up more.
But if you take Yannick during a year, how many times does he make a break? He can stay flat.
Yeah, that's true. He got Carl flat, and Carl was a hot horse.
But it's like Yannick. If you want to make money on a short time, not many better than Yannick.
Well, that's an interesting kind of segue to another murky piece of this race to me, which is private access feels like a horse by default. And I feel like he's been doing well in this series because he's been that horse who can get to the lead. He's just fast enough to hold horses off. But I don't know, Mike. I don't really know that he is like one of the big boys. I feel like he's just landed in some good spots. He's gotten some good drives, and he's at least a decent enough horse to do that job well. I don't know what type of beating he can take here.
Well, 1 for 14 last year. He won a lot of money, but I mean, and this year he's had things his own way. He's going to be a shorter price than you want in this race. This is the race you try to beat him. I think this is the race that I would be trying to, you like Thomas said, you get some prices on your ticket in this race because there's too many scenarios that you really can't, but private access is the horse that I think you want to take a shot against in here because he's just going to, take a ton of money because it's exactly like you said. He's the horse that looks like the default everybody's going to go to because of the ones next to his name. But no, you don't. I mean, if he wins, he wins.
I'm gonna say if the most value horse in this race is Warwick Michelle, especially if she is going to be entered with no shoes, and we know what Aki going to do when there is money on the line, and he has been driving her so carefully in 2 races. She's kicking home 26. We know, and I wouldn't be shocked if she go off as a 15-1 show.
And I mean, we were talking about this with Date Night Hanover. The mayor's next big engagement isn't until the John Steele. Yeah. That's the first Saturday in August. So this is the best prize they're going to get. And especially Warwick Michelle took back from the 9-hole last time. They went the back half in about 55-1. So her back half was 54, almost flat by the looks of it.
Yeah, she's beaten by 2 lengths and flying. And we know Aki going to be aggressive. From the 8-hole, he don't gonna, especially if he pull the shoes. It's gonna be very interesting to see if he pull the shoes, he goes.
The only other piece I want to touch on here, and I don't know how much handicapping piece it is to it, but I just want to say Sir Pinocchio is a horse that has honestly impressed me. When he won the Yonkers Trot last year, first and foremost, I just couldn't remember if that was the race. I thought he was just kind of like private access. He was just a horse who was good enough for that opportunity, just fast enough, and he was able to make some good money. But this guy, I'm surprised he has been as competitive at these higher ranks as he has been, and that he's become a 51-50 trotter. I mean, Mike, you remember when we were at Vernon for the Zweig, and all three of us were like, Metz Hall is the horse to beat here. Metz Hall is the horse to beat here. And he won it 13-1. He got no respect when the three analysts told everybody he was going to win that race. But then as a stallion,
he was outside, to be fair.
It was outside. Well, we were inside. But as a stallion, Metz Hall really hasn't had that type of opportunity. And Sir Pinocchio, threefold, has outperformed every progeny that Metz Hall has thrown out. I mean, that's impressive first and foremost. And on top of that, if he is somehow a longer price inside this race, I'm of the impression to give him a bit more respect because I'm always underestimating him. I don't know that he's a win candidate here, but I mean, if you're looking to play verticals, Jason just has to find the right spot, save some ground, and this horse might be coming. Depending on
he's
the
better
price.
on a small track for starters. I mean, that is one thing, and so the second thing is he takes money. I don't know. I think he's just okay for me. He gets off the rail. That's helpful for him. But what kind of trip does he get? Because he's got to go, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just okay for me.
And Bartlett also just goes.
Yeah, I agree with 100% with Mike. If this graduate final was going on Yonkers, then we bet Sir Pinocchio. He's flying around the half turns.
So he's probably the favorite for the MPM.
Yeah, but he's going to be okay there. But it's like he is also impressing me on Meadowlands because I was sure Meadowlands home stretch was going to eat him up because he's not a big horse either. He's like, I was sure that the big boys was going to get him. Last time they get him very easy. So he's not going to get any money from me.
I mean, he's just one of those cool horses. He's a homebred and against these top ones. Ed Hart trained the Dam, who was also a sister to the Dexter Cup winner in 2017, was a Hambo hopeful back then. It's kind of a cool story. Let's quickly talk about race number 8 then. It is the Meadowlands Pace Prep. I don't know how deep of a discussion there is to have here because really there is an ability discrepancy, I would say, from one half of the field to the next. Captain Optimistic, I think it's safe to say he's probably the favorite inside of this race, and I don't really have any reason to believe he's going to regress from that mile in North America Cup because, Mike, even though he finished 4th, I think he raced his eyeballs out. He couldn't work into the right position to win the race.
Yeah, he was good. He was out a long way. I do think he's better in the straightaways than he is in the turns, and that's the thing with him. He's a grinder, and that race did not set up for a grinder. This race, I do think, will probably set up for him because he's just has more talent than most of these. But when it comes to, we'll see. Maybe he's better over this track than he was at Mohawk too. We'll see next week, and we're looking into that. I think Fallout could be okay in here too. He's got some talent. He's going to be up close in this race. He's fast enough. So I mean, I don't know. I'll watch it, but there's not a lot of money to be made in this race, I don't think.
I feel like the inside 2 horses, depending on what prices they go, there could be an angle to take there. Because Thomas, are you under the impression that Dexter is going to want to go for the lead here? Because otherwise, I think Poppy's Pistol, after that win at Mohawk, proved that he may want to just try and commandeer this race.
Yeah, but it's right in the qualifier for Toddy last time, and he got eaten up. Poppy's Pistol. When he won the 3 Years Open up in Canada there for Dougie, it was a good performance. The time was 48. There is only one thing I'm sure about. That's not Timmy don't going to be very aggressive with Fallout. I think he's going to race him from a helmet and let him finish over the finish line. This race doesn't mean anything for Fallout. This is Captain Optimistic all the way. I think Dexter going to get Nancy going to tell Dexter, because he haven't been racing for almost 3 weeks to this race. I think he's going to get a tightener in this race, a Captain Optimistic. So I don't think it's going to be like he's going to at least sprint. So it's going to be it's going to be a race, not just a qualifier. So for me, Captain Optimistic all day in this race. It's like, do I going to have Fallout? No, I'm going to try to get the pick 4 many times. So Captain Optimistic is for me the Grand Slams.
From that angle, I don't disagree either, because especially in a short field, the pace setter is probably the most important position inside of this race. And if you put the potentially best horse in that spot, he could probably get a breather added onto that as well. There's really no reason Captain Optimistic shouldn't be able to just sprint home with it. I guess the bigger question there is, what price do we actually envision him going? I don't even know what the morning line is for this race.
1 to 5.
Yeah, 1 to 5. I was going to say the same. 1 to 5, and it's like I don't think anybody beats him. If he got beat, then he is either sick or he have a bad day, because I think he's better than the horses. I've not been super impressed by Fallout. Is Fallout going to be on his helmet? We don't know about that. Maybe Papa's pistol is on his helmet. Then Fallout is going to be third. I don't think Timmy going to go first up. Then he's just going to float around the last turn and let him sprint home. Because Fallout, his race is just going to be like a qualifier, in my opinion. Timmy don't going to destroy Fallout to win this race. His race is Meadowlands Pace.
I feel like you just brought up the scenario that I don't have a good answer to. If Timmy is sitting second and he has that one shot, does he? I feel like Fallout is capable of out sprinting Captain Optimistic.
He can, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see 56, 55-3, 55-4 to the half, and then depends. Then when Dexter is pushing it's going to go fast. So it's for, but have we seen Fallout beat a horse by horse? I think he has been.
That's true.
This year it's been more that he have showed that he don't want to win, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, as a 2-year-old, also the hallmark races of his, to my mind, he collared tired horses in the Metro, although he had to really fight still. So like there's a little bit of tenacity that has to be exhibited there. And then his race at the Red Mile, there were no horses in sight. He was just doing that all himself. And we know sometimes that there are other horses that when you introduce another horse, they might just be more like, oh, hey, how do you do? Instead of, I need to crush you. You are my enemy. I must destroy you.
I do feel like, though, that the Red Mile, those races, it's like the horses, some horses love that racetrack. And you can't take those races and really make them extrapolate them anywhere else. There's horses that can really get over that track and love it. And I don't consider any races there when I'm looking at other places and other races, because it's a place that kind of exists on its own, in my opinion. And some horses love it and really, really get over it, and other horses do not. And so that's just my opinion.
And the only thing we know about this race is Captain Optimist is coming into this race with three week off, and we know Nancy wants to have him sharp going into the Meadowlands Pace. So then we know that, and then I know that he's not going to take him off the gate and just give him a helmet to race from. Captain Optimistic is going to be in the front after the first going out of the paddock turn, and catch me if you can.
Yeah, and then from that point, if, say, Fallout's the second choice at 2-1, I don't even know that's worth a gamble on if he can outsprint Captain Optimist. Maybe in the multis, if you beat Captain Optimistic, that'll pay a little bit, but maybe just marginally. One last piece I want to touch on inside just the scope of this race. We haven't even mentioned any of these other ones. Knockout Round had that break in stride in the North America Cup. Obviously, he may be more inclined to want to take back. Joel and the Jets has some speed to use, and Doc Moore probably wants to get this guy good. I feel like you can apply that Nancy Tactor logic to this one, too, from this inside draw. How do we feel these more underneath, like these B-tier horses, can impact how this race unfolds, or maybe even how can we implement them into some exotics, perhaps?
I mean,
at all?
I don't know. Are you looking to play tries here? I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of value in this race, especially when you're looking at the top two at the top of the market. Really, probably, unless you can get one of these horses to upset. I don't see any scenario that happens. I don't know. How do you expect one of these horses to trip out? They're not fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is only one thing I say. Yeah, I think Manolete will be overbet.
Okay.
In the multis.
He was the main one I was kind of wondering about,
yeah, because he's been racing at the New Jersey Sire Stakes. He's been up against some of these and younger. I think many of the other horses can be third and fourth compared to Manolete. If I'm betting the multi here, I don't gonna have any money on Manolete. And I think also Scotty gonna be very like racing from a helmet from the post. I would be shocked if he guns out.
I've learned that the hard way when Scott has had spots where he could be aggressive and maybe win, but I just have the right idea a few weeks before he has the right opportunity, I guess.
He won the Hambo 3 times, the money man.
That's true. I think I've only ever won one Hambo on a win ticket.
I know. It's sometimes I feel Scotty can be a little more aggressive, and I told him that too. But he is the money man. Every time there is money on the line, he is coming flying.
And I know Mike is no stranger to that either. Pretty much any time there's a big race, Scott is on your tickets in some capacity.
100%. I've been singing his praises a long time.
That does it for our discussion here. As Mike said at the start of this show, we will be back next week with a roundtable discussion, live roundtable discussion. So if you're listening to this on whatever day, wherever you are, Thursday, July the 10th at 8 p.m. on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Yeah, it is the 10th. I just had to add today's day by 7 because we're recording this on Thursday. Next Thursday, July 10th, 8 p.m. will be a live roundtable discussion focused on the Meadowlands Pace Stakes card. I will be there. Mike Prebosi will be there. Thomas is going to be there, right? Thomas is going to be there. Derek Givner will be there. And Adam Bowden of Diamond Creek Farm. Not even just a breeder. He's also kind of a handicapper, speculator in his own right. And he is a Meadowlands Pace winner. As his Pace champion is currently having a lot of fun with the mares of the sport to potentially become one of the next star stallions. That is Confederate. That's going to be a fun one. I'm going to have some fun things for Adam, too, on that show. Thursday, July 10th, 8 p.m. You'll want to catch it. Of course, replay will be available on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. It'll be available as a podcast. So keep an eye out for that wherever you get your podcasts. Otherwise, I will continue being Ray Cotolo. He's Mike Prebosi. With Thomas Svensen. Thank you, as always, for being a part of the discussion. And thank you for watching, listening, or doing whatever the hell you do, in all honesty. That's probably the best thing you can do. And keep on doing it. Stick around here. More content on the In the Money Media YouTube channel. Harness racing, horse racing, whatever you want to find, you will find it here